As far as typing games go, there have been some odd tie-ins over the years, to say the least. But today's is one of the more obscure that I've been lucky enough to discover, Initial D, Ryosuke Takahashi's fastest typing theory, developed by eFrontier and published by Sunsoft in the year 2000 for Windows and Macintosh computers. As you might expect, this was released exclusively in Japan, as was the PlayStation 2 release from 2001, which seems to be a little more familiar to fans of the series. Either way though, as soon as I saw Initial D Teaches Typing existed for the PC, I felt the only responsible thing to do would be to import a copy and show the world. Just look at this loud, overcrowded box art. Don't miss it! Post your Time Attack scores online, enjoy non-stop Eurobeat background music, And in case you somehow haven't picked up on it, this is based on the Initial D series of manga and anime, featuring characters, cars, and scenes from late 90s episodes of said anime, like that iconic panda white and black Toyota AE86. Nice. While I've seen precious little of the shows themselves, I've seen more than a few PC boxes, and this one has a rather decent interior. Packed in here are several items, starting with this sheet providing the product license agreement, a totally unnecessary but appreciated monochrome manual that simply tells you to click on stuff and enjoy it, and the game itself on a classy-looking, highly reflective CD-ROM. I always enjoy when companies don't go with a full label like this. Once you have some Japanese language settings enabled on your operating system, Initial D Teaches Typing can be run directly from the CD. As far as I can tell from the README, this is the intention, as there's no proper installation, and it only saves some basic settings and high scores on your hard drive. The main thing to make sure of is that a compatible version of Macromedia Shockwave and Apple QuickTime are installed, and you'll be good to go. It also comes with these HTML files on the CD showing what the eFrontier and online leaderboards would have looked like at the time for whatever reason. I guess as a teaser of sorts in case you didn't have an ability to get on the internet. I don't know, it's kind of neat in retrospect though, seeing as the original pages are long gone from the server these days and you'd have to look for other archives if you wanted to see these. So, Mavis Beacon's Initial D begins with a wall of warnings, saying how it's a work of fiction and you should always drive safely in real life and be sure to maintain proper keyboarding posture and that your keyboard's Japanese character mode should be turned off while playing and whatever man, it's time to break into the night. Yep, this is the menu of an Initial D game, alright. And the Options option is a good place to start, seeing as it lets you change between keyboard input types and customize certain aspects of your Japanese keyboard should you have one, although I'm playing this on a US QWERTY keyboard, so I was able to just leave things on the default settings and didn't have any problems. There are also 3 difficulty modes to choose from, with the hardest on top and easiest on the bottom, and lastly, you can adjust the audio options in the event that you somehow tire of the Eurobeat non-stop BGM, and everything else because it's all or nothing when it comes to audio. Beginning a new game lets you choose between 2 gameplay types, with the first mode being a time attack battle and the second being a
practice mode.
Practice mode is a mode that allows for practicing, practically speaking. There's a left-hand practice, right-hand practice, and both-hands practice, allowing you to focus your abilities on certain parts of the keyboard simultaneously or separately, but either way, this is what you get here.
今度は左手を使用した入力方法の練習だ。
Yeah, all the practice mode provides is a static background and an array of paired letters and numbers to press as quickly as possible. Considering the actual game has you doing far more in terms of frantic fingertip floundering, I didn't find practicing here to be very helpful, so I'd recommend simply skipping that and jumping right into the battle mode, which is divided up into 5 stages, the 5th of which is locked until you win against the others. So let's start with the first battle against the FD3S, aka the 3rd generation Mazda RX-7. Yep, this is the entirety of the rest of the game right here. The formula stays the same no matter what you do. First, anime happens. Then it pauses and you have to type some stuff. If you type quickly and accurately enough, more anime happens, rinse and repeat until the race is over. Yay, high score. But however straightforward the gameplay may be though, that's not to say it's entirely without merit or effortless either. The fact that this is a game that mixes downhill drift racing and a typing tutor is thoroughly unique inside of my own library of edutainment. Although I suppose it's not entirely unprecedented, seeing as the grandmother of typing tutors, Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, featured a driving minigame in various releases ever since the original in the 80s. But still, typing along to high-stakes downhill drift racing goes a step beyond. Mario teaching typing is one thing, Zombies teaching typing is another, but JDM Street Racers teaching typing, that is a whole nother level of awesome juxtaposition right there. And yet, as disparate as racing and typing are in reality, it works surprisingly well in Initial D Keyboard Capers. There is a frenetic energy to both activities, with the speed and skill of driving a sports car matching the speed and skill of accurately typing just loosely enough that it kinda works. Although the illusion that your typing is actually directly affecting the race is broken pretty quickly once you realize the background videos don't actually change at all, even if you mess up horrendously and plaster the keyboard in faulty presses. You can mess up a crap load so long as you make it through the race with at least a sliver of health left in your HP bar at the top left of the screen, you'll succeed over your opponent. The replayability factor here comes from your own self-imposed urge to attain a higher score by typing quicker and more accurately. Otherwise, you're stuck seeing the same exact footage over and over, with the only change occurring when you screw up so much that you run out of health and get a vague crash scene. Still, it remains a novel enough experience that I can certainly recommend this, even if only for a single playthrough, and admittedly a part of that appeal comes from the fact that I'm an English speaker who can't read a lick of Japanese, so the mere word and character structure here trips me up something fierce. Yeah, these are Roman characters, but they're not English, and typically when I'm playing a typing game, I'm reading English words, and many of those I'm used to typing out in everyday typing scenarios, so when I see an English word, I see it as a shape, and I can rapidly translate that to my fingers due to muscle memory. But when it comes to these words and strings of grammatical elements, man, my brain ain't used to this, so it presents quite an enjoyable but tricky challenge. Especially in the later levels where it starts tossing you ridiculously long lines of text, numbers, and punctuation with rapidly diminishing room for error. The final stage in particular was brutally difficult, even on the default difficulty setting. Part of this is again due to the unique mix of characters that I'm not used to typing in this quick succession. Another part of it is due to the small amount of screen real estate leading to word wrap, and this means your eyes are constantly shifting around the screen a bit to determine the next characters to type. I wish it had an option to change around the graphical settings to run at a higher resolution than 640 by 480, so maybe these stacked lines of text could be avoided. But seeing as it was made in Macromedia Director, it doesn't surprise me that it's limited in this way. Regardless of potential resolution challenges though, Initial D Fastest Typing Theory is still a darn fascinating game, even if the actual gameplay is a bit, well, it's a typing tutor, it is what it is. You don't even get much for beating the game, just some credits and the chance to try again for a higher score to brag about online. At least it has an ending, more than I can say for some edutainment games. And hey, the fact that it exists in any form at all cracks me up, and how it later got a sequel under the subtitle Second Stage cracks me up even more. As far as edutainment goes, Initial D Typing earns top marks from me. The premise is absurd, the Eurobeat is non-stop, and the gameplay is simple but effective in its goals. I felt my skills in typing these particular phrases genuinely improving the more I played, and by the end, going back to the first couple stages felt like an absolute breeze. So yeah, while it might not be the most commonplace game in the world of edutainment, or even the most enjoyable to replay repeatedly, it is one of the more amusingly silly ones that unexpectedly ended up being one of the more effective in what it set out to do. And in doing so, actually ended up being a better game than the actual Initial D racing game we got on the PC in North America back then. How did that happen? So, for that reason alone, I say Initial D Typing, don't miss it. And yeah, my apologies for the re-upload here. That was out of my hands and was thoroughly annoying to deal with. But if you enjoyed the episode anyway, then thank you very much. I do edutainment episodes every April and other stuff every Monday and Friday right here on LGR. And as always, thank you very much for watching.